everyone and welcome back to reality. So in today's video I'm going to be talking about the places that I had explored when I went to Sri Lanka with Cordelia Cruises. Now I had done the shore excursions on my own, and hence all the places that you see in this video are the places that I had visited, and I would be sharing a few tips and important things that would be useful to you in case you're planning to add any of these places to your itinerary. So I hope this video is helpful for you and can help you plan better with your cruise vacation. So the first destination that we docked at was Hambantota, and some of the highlights of this city are visible on your screen. These are the shore excursions that the cruise offers. I, on the other hand, had not opted for this and decided to explore on my own and decided to go to a different city which is called Galle. And what I did in Galle is again up on your screen. So early morning we had reached Hambantota around 6 a.m. and after having breakfast and following the disembarkation protocols and processes, we set out to explore the city of Galle, which is located in the south of Sri Lanka. Now Galle is a beautiful city that has a lot to offer and lot to see. If you would also like to visit Galle, please ensure that you take a van or a taxi to the city because it has a 2-hour travel time one way. So if you are aiming at exploring Galle and reaching back on time, it's better to pick a vehicle that is very fast. Now, the first stop in Galle was the Japanese temple. This is a beautiful temple that is located on a hill and it has some breathtaking views. You can see the ocean and it's really quiet and you do not see a lot of tourists over here. The next stop was the Galle Fort, which is a very famous fort located in Sri Lanka and is also considered as the UNESCO World Heritage Site. This fort is a Dutch and a Portuguese fort and has some breathtaking views and a lot of photo spots. There is a lot to explore in this fort. I believe it takes you at least a day to explore this entire fort. And of course, I did not have that much time, so I tried and explored as much as I could, and that was beautiful enough for me. There is no entry fee over here, and if you're a history buff, it's always good to read up about the fort so that you will understand the history behind the fort and how it is used. And there are a lot of tourists that you end up seeing in this particular place, and it's definitely one of the most famous aspects about Galle. And I got to see the cricket stadium too. As you walk the fort, you can come across the streets of Galle, which is very beautiful. It reminds you a little bit of Fort Kochi, Pondicherry and a Goa vibe in India. So after a good exploration of the Galle Fort, we went to the Hambantota beach, which is also a very famous beach of Galle. Now Hambantota beach is not exactly located in Galle, it's a little bit away, but it's not that far off, and I was able to explore it within the time period given to me. This is a beautiful beach, and if you're someone who's interested in going swimming, this is one of the beaches to go because it's very clean and the sand is just white. And again, you see a lot of foreigners and tourists over here. Also, there's a lot of hotels and shacks nearby, so in case you want to do a shopping, you can do that here as well. I couldn't explore a lot on the beach because it was really hot, and time was also running, so I went off to have some authentic Sri Lankan food before I head back onto the ship. So along with a few friends of mine, we went to our authentic Sri Lankan restaurant and tasted some of the food, and then we were back, thankfully on time, and onto the ship before we head back to the next destination. The next destination is Trincomalee, and some of the highlights in Trincomalee that you can do are visible in your screen. I again explored Trincomalee on my own, and Trinco, unlike the other places, the destinations are very close to each other unless you're going to a different island, so a lot of things can be covered in the time that's given to you. Just like the previous day, we reached in the morning, and the beauty of Trinco was this beautiful blue waters that I really loved. So again, after quick breakfast and fixing our transport, we went on to our first destination, which was the Koneshwaram Kovil, which is also known as the Ravanan temple. This is a very famous temple, and it actually has a history behind it, where it's said that Ravan had come here when they and had made the mark with this knife. So if you're again a history buff, please go read about it. A lot of religious come to this temple and offer their offerings and prayers, and there are some breathtaking views that you can see from this particular temple. You can also visit this temple on the boat. So I went on foot, and it's up a hill from where you can see it, but you can also take a boat and visit from the other side, that is from the ocean view. You can also visit this temple. But it was a very beautiful temple. So the next stop was the Dutch Bay Beach, which is a beach that is located very close to the temple. This is the beach that you can definitely go to if you want to swim, or if you want to do a dolphin or a whale watching, or if you want to do a boat ride to see the temple. They have all those facilities here. I really love this beach. Just look at those shades of blue. They have such clear, clean waters that you can swim without any worry in the world. And my god, Trinco is beautiful because of the blue waters that they have. And of course, I didn't explore a lot of beaches here, but I'm guessing this is the specialty of Trinco, and this is something that the video cannot do justice to. We're at Trincomalee, and I'm at Trincomalee beach, and this is a beautiful beach. Such clear water and a lot of spot for you to play. A lot of people, some nice music, deer walking on the road, beautiful skies, and you have such boats which are private tours. They will take you for whale and dolphin watching. So a lot that you can explore here in Trincomalee, like the Koneshwaram temple, hot water springs, and there are a lot of things which I'm still exploring. I went to the temple, but I don't have a lot of time to explore the entire Trincomalee. I've heard there are a lot of beaches here which are great. If the first beach is like this, I can. Another beauty of Trinco is that you will actually find herd of deer just walking around, so you can just go and play with them without any worry in the world, and I just really love that. Where else can you see such sights of, you may be able to see deers, but playing with them, that is a first for me, and that I got to do over here. The next stop was Kanya Hot Water Springs, which is supposed to be famous because they have 7 wells, and each of these wells are supposed to have water consisting of different temperatures. I didn't quite feel it, maybe because I went at a very peak time and it was really hot, so everything felt the same, but it again has a historical significance connected to Ravan. With that, my Trinco journey was done. There was actually some more places to explore, which I didn't do it again because of the heat, so I decided to get back and explore all the activities on board before I move on to the next destination, which is Jaffna. So unlike the other 2 ports, Jaffna does not have a fully functional port. So if you want to visit Jaffna, they will be taking us in smaller tender boats to the port, from where we can take our taxis and autos to explore Jaffna. So after the same routine of having a good breakfast and leaving early, I had got into a van to explore Jaffna with a different group. Now I'm in Jaffna today, and over here there's a lot of temples, a lot of spirituality, and actually compared to the rest of the Sri Lanka, this is the northern side of Sri Lanka, you see a lot of Buddhist temples. Currently I'm not in a Buddhist temple, but there's a lot of Buddhist temples that you can see here. So now I'm in one of these temples, and you can see a huge Hanuman statue. We all know the story of Hanuman coming to Sri Lanka. Yeah, I'm not getting a lot of time today to do a lot. I'm gonna just take a quick look at the city and I'll show you the rest. The next stop after the temple was the Jaffna fort, which is a huge fort, and again one of the highlight points of visiting Jaffna. There's a lot to explore in this fort, and it has an entry fee of around 650 Sri Lankan rupees per person. I would suggest to definitely visit this fort, and the locals over there, the guards taking care of the fort, are very helpful in explaining the history about the fort and things that you can do there. There's again a lot of photo spots because I'm sure a lot of us want to create some memories when you go there. So you have a lot of photo spots and breathtaking views from this particular fort. After exploring the fort, we went to the third stop, which is a Nallur temple, again a very famous temple in Jaffna, and a temple that a lot of religious go to offer their prayers and offerings. So there's a Jaffna library. Another thing, if you want to see when you visit Jaffna, there's no entrance fee, so you can just walk in. And it looks so big and cute. As I mentioned earlier, we did not have a lot of time to explore Jaffna because we had to get back on the ship by 1 o'clock. So as much as time we got, we tried to explore whatever we saw on the road. And we ended our entire exploration in this beautiful beach, which is very close to the port, and which is our pickup point for our buses back to the ship. So again, just like the other beaches I saw in Sri Lanka, this had some beautiful clear waters and zero waves, so it is the perfect place for a swim. You could see a lot of tourists swimming. They also have a small shack there where you can have some good food. And finally, after a good day in Jaffna, we were back on our tender boats and back onto the ship, back to all the festivities for our last day in Jaffna and Sri Lanka before we head back to India. So I would like to say that if you are planning to explore Sri Lanka on your own, you can definitely manage your entire shore excursions on a budget, but this would definitely depend upon what is your interest area. So if you are planning to do some extreme activities like water sports, adventure sports, safari and things like that, the cost would be a little bit more. Again, you can do your permutation combinations to understand how much more it is from the packages offered by the cruise. However, if you are looking at just exploring the city, the town, the few important spots over there, it can be significantly less, and it again depends upon your interest area. So I personally were not interested in going to the waterfalls or exploring the national park because these are the things you find even in India, and better ones for that matter. So I was not that interested, but I wanted to know more about the historical aspects of the place and of course the beautiful beaches. So that was what was in my mind and my interest area. So if I have to give you a cost breakdown of the transportation charges for the trip that I had taken. Now for Galle, I had thankfully gone with a bunch of people who are from Galle, so I did not have to worry about the transportation charges. So in case you're planning to go to Galle, I would suggest to pre-book a taxi service because I met a lot of people from the cruise that had booked a taxi service in advance that was available at the port that took them and came back. There are also taxis available at the port, vans available at the port that can take you till Galle and come back, so you can do that. You may have to negotiate the cost because Galle is around 132 kilometers from Hambantota port, so it's quite a distance. You have tolls, this and all in between. So I'm guessing the cost for the taxi services would be comparatively higher than the next two destinations like Trincomalee and Jaffna. So that's something you will have to check out. Now coming to Trincomalee and Jaffna, the transportation charges are pretty much the same. So for this, given set of places and few common places that you've selected that you want to go in and around the city, the charges usually range. For an auto, it's between 4,000 to 5,000 Sri Lankan rupees, and if it's a taxi, like a normal car, it could be around 6,000, 7,000, and maybe if you're going for a bigger van, it could be between 8,000 to 10,000 Sri Lankan rupees. In Jaffna, I also noticed that they can sometimes ask per head cost if you're a lot of people pulling in, which also works cheaper. It could be around 1,000 rupees per person or lesser than that. So these are a gist of the transportation charges. Unless you're planning to go to a different island or go very far, then of course this would vary. But to give you an idea about my itinerary, these are the charges. So any other expenses like the entry fees for certain areas and things like that, I have called out in the video. So I hope you've gone through that. So in case you're planning an itinerary like mine, your main cost would only be the transport and a few entry fees here and there, and then if any miscellaneous like your eating and things like that. Otherwise you can really plan it in a budget friendly manner, and it can be even more cost effective if you end up pooling with different people from the cruise as well. So that was the gist of the things that I did when I was in Sri Lanka, and I hope this video is helpful to all of you. And in case you still have any questions about shore excursions, feel free to drop your comments and I will get back to you. And in case you all are going on your next trip via Cordelia Cruises to Sri Lanka, have amazing and a lot of fun. It's one of the best experiences ever.